a clear message to Putin saying, Vladimir, stop. Is there any disappointment on your end that Vladimir has not stopped?
Well, this is, again, why the president is the president. The American people wanted Donald Trump in office. He has shown, certainly in his first term, that he is willing and capable of taking the action that's about. So let's proceed here. Yes, sir. No, let's not continue with the interruptions. For the sake of your colleagues, let's take some time and allow your colleagues to participate here. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tammy. Let's start with Iran. Today, the Omani foreign minister announced that the fourth round of the indirect talks with Iran has been postponed. Can you confirm that it's postponed or it's cancelled? And then what would you have to share on this with us? And the second one, do you have any reactions about the sectarian violence against the Syrian Jewish population with 2 days of deadly clashes near Damascus? Has left over 100.
I can speak to both of those. This is what I can say about Iran, is that the United States was never confirmed to be participating in a fourth round of talks with Iran, which people had believed were Saturday in Rome, despite what there had been some reports. The timing and the venue had yet to be confirmed. I think, again, I would say this is a fluid situation, and I'm obviously saying things to you that are somewhat indistinct, but we expect another round of talks that will take place in the near future. So those details, that's what I have here, is that's what I can tell you. And we aren't, though, going, of course, as you might imagine, going to get into the details of any of the negotiations themselves. And that was about, of course, the
sectarian violence in Syria.
Yes. So let's get to this here. We, as we always are in these regions, we're closely monitoring, so we're aware of this, to say the least, including the recent violence against members of the Druze community, so that we are watching that for sure. We urge the interim authorities to hold perpetrators of violence and civilian harm accountable for their actions and ensure the security of all Syrians, every single one of them. And it is, that's all I can say. That's all I can say on that. All right. All right. All right. Go. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Tammy. Two questions for you. Number one, Trump administration, first term and second term, is a foundational part of foreign policy. We'll talk to anybody, whether inviting the Taliban to Camp David or King Jong-un or Putin or whoever. It's no secret the Syrians are here in the States for talks with a lot of people. Why is the Trump admin kind of tiptoeing around the subject of meeting with the Syrians this week?
I don't think it's about tiptoeing. I think it's about what's appropriate. I can tell you that Department of State officials met on April 29th with the Syrian interim authorities in New York. But just like any meeting with anyone, we're not going to tell you the details of that. As a general matter, some of you might not know, but we don't comment on private diplomatic conversations. That would kind of ruin the point of them. We continue, though, we can tell you, to urge the interim authorities to choose policies that reinforce stability for Syria's citizens, assure peace with Syria's neighbors, develop Syria's economy, and result in good faith cooperation with the international community. And any future normalization of relations or lifting of sanctions, as an example, which we are asked a lot at this podium, will depend on the interim authorities' actions and positive response to the specific confidence-building measures we have communicated. And those are that they should fully renounce and suppress terrorism, exclude and remove foreign terrorist fighters from any official roles, prevent Iran and its proxies from exploiting Syrian territory, continue taking steps to verifiably destroy Assad's chemical weapons, assist in the recovery of U.S. and other citizens who have been disappeared in Syria, and ensure the security and freedoms of Syria's religious and ethnic minorities.
I appreciate you
That's
confirming
it.
the meeting.
Humara.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Tammy. I actually have a follow-up on that. So
Okay.
those were the demands that U.S. basically sent to the Syrian interim authorities. And then they sent back in writing a response saying, we have done some of these things and then we're working on other things. So what is the U.S. assessment at the moment on Syrian interim authorities' progress? And was there any because they want a clear roadmap for permanent sanctions relief. Was that somehow like discussed in that meeting, and did you guys give them a clear timeline on when that would happen?
Obviously, I can't tell you that, but you got to ask. I understand that. Look, I think we can all determine what the framework is and if it has been met when there's action. So I don't want to. I can't say what I was just going to say. Because it was, no, I know I could, but I won't. I shouldn't. So there's things you can do, and then there's things you should do.
So it does sound like
no.
the U.S. is not that satisfied
Do not draw conclusions,
Okay.
which sometimes people tend to do. My point is that if you're wondering, when our requirements, of which I've detailed some of, are met, you will see action from this government. If there is no action from this government, we would have to presume that that certain things haven't been met yet. As far as to what was discussed in New York, that can't be discussed. I certainly have not been told what the details are of that particular meeting, and if I was, even though you're wonderful, I would not share it with you. I'm sorry. All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. No. But yes, in the white shirt. Yes, sir.
I'll move to Gaza if you don't mind.
Of course, please, sure, certainly.
For 2 months now, there have been a blockade of Gaza, that no aid is coming in from the Israelis. There is so many reasons for that, I understand. But the president a few days ago said that food and medicine should enter Gaza.
He did. He said more than that, even.
Yeah. But the Israelis are not, doesn't seem that they are listening yet. I mean, food is still not there. There is a lot of signs inside Gaza, according to a lot of international organizations, a sign of famine growing in Gaza. Fear of famine is growing in Gaza. Whether the administration is doing more to push or pressure the Israelis to allow.
Obviously, at this point, we've, as I've noted, we've always we have a policy. We want the aid to resume. We want humanitarian supplies and assistance to resume, as long as it can be safely moved in, and there's no looting, and if people aren't getting mugged, and it's not being stolen. And I mean, there are some standards about when you're going to send somebody into essentially a war zone, and I don't think that's a very high bar. At the same time, what are we doing? Well, the President of the United States is engaging in this as well. We have wonderful envoys, people who have changed the world and saved people's lives and get the impossible done. And then you have Donald Trump, who said in more detail, I have it for you here. He said regarding Gaza, we've got to be good to Gaza. These people are suffering. There is a very big need for medicine, food, and we are taking care of it. How that is manifesting, and we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday, I can't give you those details. But when the President of the United States is describing and effectively announcing that action is being taken, and especially this president, you know that is happening. The details of which I can't share with you. I know that, of course, we stand with Israel. They are one of our greatest allies. Our relationship with them is excellent, and we work with them and support them in what their needs are. But in this case, I think we have the best answer regarding the attitude of the United States, and that comes from President Trump. Yes, sir. Behind you, sir. Behind you, sir. Yes, behind you, sir. Sir, sorry, this is not going to. No, Saeed. We will. Please. I've never had to do it, Saeed. I've never had to do it, and I will do it, Saeed. There are many other people here, obviously many also who have concerns about the same city or have different kinds of questions and want the same kinds of answers. This is not the fifth grade. This is the State Department of the United States. You're here. It is a privilege. I like, Saeed, I see you during the gaggles and every day, and I like you very much. And I understand your passion, but you are not directing this conversation or this room.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, please go.
Do you believe that the recent mineral deal with Ukraine sends a clear message to those who have accused President Trump of being sympathetic to Russia?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of media that goes on when you're dealing with issues of negotiations. The answer, of course, is not to not speak to people. And that was the idea and the theory for the last administration, where Russia wasn't spoken to for at least 3 years. And so even a lot of heat of the idea of speaking to Putin. There was a lot of heat when he went to visit Kim Jong-un. But Secretary Rubio is very similar when it comes to what President Trump's view is that people have to be spoken with, face to face, one-on-one. That diplomacy is about human beings making arrangements, talking about things, finding a common ground. And you really, in all honesty, I know we got used to a lot of like non-human contact during COVID, and that is one of the biggest disasters to hit humanity that we can imagine that was enforced on us. So it is now clear that there is a commitment and an understanding of the importance of this kind of diplomacy. So I'm not going to guess at the nature of what President Trump and Putin might discuss. I do know that President Trump is doing it for a reason, and that is to accomplish an end to bloodshed and massacres. When you think about it, it's something that has to happen. That is what has always driven him. And with Ukraine, the same situation. You have the president of that country in your house in the Oval Office. You're supposed to have signed this deal that day when President Zelensky decided that was just not going to happen, I guess. And yet it didn't end the relationship. They meet in Rome. They sit down with each other. And then this happens again. We know this is important to all of us and to those men and the women as well involved in these negotiations. But it is something that is with a goal to solve something. And it's, I don't think we should look at the minerals deal as a statement about Russia, or if you talk to Putin on the phone, it's not a statement about something else. Trump has been very clear about his mission, and that is how we should look at through that lens. All right, yes, Andrea, again.
Just a quick follow-up on that. The president did indicate on his way back from the Vatican that he would consider secondary sanctions if Russia kept bombing.
He did.
Russia has kept bombing, hasn't agreed to the ceasefire, and he's now apparently agreed to secondary sanctions on Iran, on people who do oil business with Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Is he considering secondary sanctions on Russia?
Well, we know, again, that he's stated his willingness to do that, about the nature of, clearly we're not removing any sanctions that currently exist. The president wants, in every action that we've taken as a nation, to do it diplomatically. That he clearly, because of the commitment to it. And yet, he knows also that there's another part of the world, a whole globe, that needs some attention. And the secretary has also made it very clear that while our style will change, the methodology of how we contribute to this will change, in that we will not be the mediators. That is what I mentioned on Tuesday, and the nature of how this would change is we certainly were still committed to it and will help and do what we can, but we are not going to fly around the world at the drop of a hat to mediate meetings. That it is now between the two parties, and now is the time that they need to present and develop concrete ideas about how this conflict is going to end. It's going to be up to them. Yes, Eric. Eric?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, Tammy, thank you. I wanted to ask, so many times in here we're asking about the day-to-day things, but since we just passed 100 days of the administration, if you could describe kind of writ large what you think the biggest accomplishments of the administration have been on the Russia and Israel fronts, and also what you see as the biggest challenges at this point.
Well, I think it's very simple. It's the fact that the parties are talking. In every single dynamic, the parties are talking. And that is an accomplishment no one else has been able to do. I think this reinvestment fund, this deal that has just been signed, is so critical in that it is going to be generational, and it will make the difference for Ukraine at every stage, and provides a kind of national security that nothing else really could when it comes to the way the world views Ukraine. So I think getting them to the table, changing the idea of the world of what's possible, and this critical minerals deal are three really very big things.
Challenges?
All right. Saeed, would you like to say something, sir? Thanks for your patience.
Thank you very kindly. I just wanted to follow up
Yes, sir.
for you to clarify.
Yes, sir.
You said that aid was not going in because of security issues that they
No,
cannot
I said
provide.
that we want the aid to go in
understand.
and support humanitarian aid
Right.
as long as
Right.
there are guarantees
Right.
regarding looting and safety, and I think that's reasonable.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I
Yes.
just want you to confirm that that is the reason.
Well, I'm not saying, no, I'm describing our standard.
Right,
I'm
I
not giving
understand.
you a reason for something,
Right,
sir.
because you know, in the past, you know, when the war was full scale, let's say before the ceasefire, aid was still going in, and security was provided for the aid to be distributed properly and so on. So there is basically, you know, like a pattern for that. There is a
There's
system
ways,
and
there's
agenda
ways,
for that. Yeah,
yes.
that's all I wanted. I'm sorry if I seem to
Well, no,
interrupt you,
no,
but
no, I
this is
appreciate
just a
that, thank
follow-up.
you.
Yeah.
But it's important to know that I will manage the room
Yes, absolutely.
in any way that I need to. And I really, don't break my heart for needing to do it in a way that I'd prefer not to.
No, it's
In the back, sir, yes. Yes, sir, yes, you.
There are 9 wrongfully detained U.S. citizens in Venezuela. Their families are asking for engagement, or at least that the administration do something to get them back. Is it true that Special Envoy Claver Caroni is engaging directly with the Maduro regime for some kind of exchange, maybe Venezuelans in El Salvador for these 9 U.S. citizens, or what is the engagement?
Well, I cannot speak on any alleged or real diplomatic efforts, what's happening, and certainly not just that situation, but any other situation either. Yes, dear.
Thank you. Related to 100 days and so wrongful detention. Yesterday, the secretary, he said, quote, the first 100 days of the 47th presidency, 47 wrongfully detained Americans have been returned to the United States thanks to the president's leadership. I just wanted to ask whether he was aware that wrongful detention is a specific determination made by the State Department, and that it involves looking at the criteria within the Robert Levinson Act to determine whether a case of an American detained abroad is wrongful detention, or whether that term, wrongful detention, has now changed under this administration to encompass a bigger group of Americans detained abroad, even if they don't fit that criteria.
Well, I believe he has a tweet out that refers to 47 unjustly detained Americans. And so that's what I'll speak to here. And that is, of course, a correct number. It will be higher, I believe, soon, including in Afghanistan, Russia, and Venezuela, through diplomatic efforts. These are huge wins for the United States. And it is because of President Trump's leadership. What we can also tell you, I think this happened, was it yesterday, I believe? I'm pleased to report that President Trump has secured the release of another U.S. citizen, Yoris Zankovich from Belarus. Since President Trump took office, he was released on April 30th and returned to the United States. We want to thank, of course, the government of Lithuania, who remain incredible allies and who have offered critical support to our efforts these past few months to bring more Americans home. All right, thank you. And yes, sir.
A follow-up on Iran. The Iranian foreign minister has just tweeted that together with the Omani and U.S. interlocutors, we have decided to postpone the 4th round of talks for logistical and technical reasons. Can you confirm that the reason was logistical?
Well, I can't confirm the details, nor would I speak to what someone in Iran might tweet, no matter their position. But again, I said earlier, and I'll repeat it, that the United States was never confirmed to participate in a 4th round of talks anywhere. The timing and venue, there could be one in that it would take place in the near future, but we won't discuss the where or the when. So it's what the Russians would say, or what the Iranians might say, or anyone who would tweet is, of course, not something I can speak to. But I can tell you that from what our people say and what our envoy says, is that I guess something would take place in the near future, and as soon as we have those details, we'll let you know. And it's a very big day. That is going to be it for me. Thank you, everyone. It's a beautiful day outside, and thank you. It got very saucy in here, and I want to thank everyone for caring about their region and their issues, and I appreciate everyone behaving as much as they possibly could. Thank you.
While leaders have condemned the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam, in which at least 27 tourists were killed and several others were injured, Hours later, Pakistan and China also reacted to the attack. Pakistan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has released a statement expressing concerns at the loss of tourists' lives and extending condolences to the families of the deceased. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson has also wished the injured a speedy recovery. But Pakistan has stopped short of condemnation. China, on the other hand, has condemned the attack in Pahalgam, saying it is shocked by the attack, extending deep condolences to the victims and sympathies to the injured and bereaved families. China has stressed that it opposes all forms of terrorism. Earlier, US President Donald Trump strongly condemned the terror attack in a phone call with Prime Minister Narendra Modi and expressed full support to India to bring justice to the perpetrators of the heinous attack. Calling the attack deeply disturbing, Trump said that the US stands strong with India against terrorism and prays for the souls of the lost and for the recovery of the injured. Russian President Vladimir Putin also minced no words in condemning the Pahalgam terror attack. In a letter addressed to the Prime Minister of India and the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, President Putin said this brutal crime has no justification whatsoever, and Russia expects that its organizers and perpetrators will face deserved punishment. Putin added that Russia is committed to increasing cooperation with Indian partners to combat terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian embassy in India said that they endure the loss of life from terrorism daily and firmly condemned terrorism in all of its forms, stressing that the perpetrators should be held accountable. Ukraine said when innocent people are murdered, it brings unbearable pain. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman also conveyed his condolences, stating that Saudi Arabia stands with India and is ready to offer any needed support. The Prime Minister of India, who was in Saudi Arabia at the time of the attack, cut short his visit and returned to India earlier than planned. The bilateral meeting between Indian Prime Minister and the Saudi Crown Prince began with a condemnation of the attack.
The meeting began with the reference to the unfortunate terror attack that has happened in India. Both the leaders expressed their condemnation for the terror attack. His Royal Highness Crown Prince conveyed his condolences and sympathies and offered any help in this regard to us.
The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, said he is deeply saddened by the barbaric terrorist attack in Pahalgam, adding that Israel stands with India in its fight against terrorism. Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar condemned the attack and expressed solidarity. Neighboring Iran also offered its condolences to the people of India, particularly to the families of the victims, and wished for a speedy recovery of the injured. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer wrote on X that the horrific terrorist attack in Kashmir is utterly devastating and that his thoughts are with those affected, their loved ones and the people of India. Other European nations have also stepped in with support and solidarity. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said she is deeply saddened by the terrorist attack as she expressed condolences to the families affected, the injured, the government and all the Indian people. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz condemned the heinous terrorist attack and extended condolences to the families of the victims, along with wishes for a speedy recovery to the injured. The French ambassador to India also strongly condemned the dastardly attack and said France stands in solidarity with India in the fight against terrorism. With global support in its fight against terror, India's pledge to avenge the cowardly attack remains undeterred, with forces going all out to neutralize the perpetrators. Let's begin with news coming in at this hour. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance, who just returned for his India trip, spoke about the terrorist attack in India's Jammu and Kashmir. A day after 27 people, most of them tourists, were killed. And this is a picture of one of the purported terrorists. His name is Asif Fauji. This is a picture that is trending on social media. And the security agencies and the security forces have not yet confirmed these images, but this is one of the purported terrorists of the Pahalgam terror attack. Let's just listen in to what the U.S. Vice President had to say.
I want to just, of course, issue our condolences to the people of Kashmir who were affected by this terrible terrorist attack. The president's already spoken with Prime Minister Modi. I believe I'll be speaking with him later this afternoon. And obviously we're providing whatever assistance and help we can provide to the government, to the people of India.
Now, since independence in 1947, India and Pakistan have fought 4 major wars. And in every instance, it was Pakistan that lit the fuse. And every time, India gave a resolute reply, pushing back with overwhelming force and emerging stronger militarily. As tensions hit a fever pitch, let's take a look at the history of the conflict between the 2 South Asian nuclear-armed countries.
Tensions are crackling across the LOC. Indian Prime Minister Modi has given the armed forces a free hand to track and punish the perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack. Islamabad fears an Indian military action is imminent. Over the years, the 2 nations have fought 4 decisive wars. Each major conflict began with Pakistani aggression. India hit back harder against every provocation. In 1947, in the afterglow of India's independence, Pakistan sent tribal raiders and troops to seize Jammu and Kashmir by force. In a swift and decisive response, India airlifted troops and crushed the invasion to secure the valley. In 1965, Pakistan's covert infiltration Operation Gibraltar met the same fate. India stormed across the international border, advancing toward Lahore and Sialkot, leaving Pakistan reeling and forced to accept a ceasefire on India's terms. The 1971 war was Pakistan's boldest and most disastrous gambit. After unleashing genocide in East Pakistan, it launched preemptive airstrikes on India. In just 13 days, Indian forces liberated Bangladesh, forcing Pakistan to acknowledge a humiliating defeat. 90,000 Pakistani prisoners surrendered. India had redrawn the map of South Asia. In 1999, in a stealth operation, Pakistani troops and terrorists occupied Indian peaks in Kargil. India's military fought grueling battles at impossible altitudes and overwhelming odds to defeat the Pakistani soldiers. Indian armed forces reclaimed every inch of its land. The world saw who the real aggressor was, and Pakistan was once again left isolated and humiliated. Pakistan is now on the defensive. Its ministers are warning of imminent Indian retaliation. Its military is bracing for consequences. History shows that every time Pakistan has chosen the path of aggression, India has responded with strength, unity, and victory. As the world watches the current standoff, Pakistan's fear of a decisive Indian response is rooted in the hard lessons of the past. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Now, India has closed its airspace to Pakistani airplanes days after Islamabad banned Indian planes from overflying, amid rising tensions between the two countries over Pahalgam attack. The notice to air operators said that Indian airspace was not available for Pakistani registered or leased aircraft, including military flights. The airspace closure will remain in effect till the 23rd of May 2025. New Delhi announced the reciprocal move 6 days after Pakistan decided to shut its airspace to all Indian flights. In a major development, Pakistan government has appointed intelligence agency ISI chief. Lieutenant General Asim Malik is the National Security Advisor. He will hold the charge as an additional portfolio. Lieutenant General Malik was appointed as the head of the ISI in September last year. His appointment as Pakistan's NSA comes in the backdrop of the terror attack in Jammu and Kashmir, which claimed 26 lives. Terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba's proxy TRF, which was behind the Pahalgam terror attack, is believed to be backed by the ISI. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio, in a call with Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, spoke for the need of condemnation of the terror attack in Pahalgam and urged Pakistan's cooperation in the investigation. In a separate phone call with India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Rubio reaffirmed the US commitment to cooperation with India against terrorism. The US Secretary of State also called on India and Pakistan to work to de-escalate tensions. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said he discussed Pahalgam attack with Marco Rubio, emphasizing that its perpetrators, backers and planners must be brought to justice. In India, opposition Congress leader Rahul Gandhi urged Prime Minister Narendra Modi to act strongly against the perpetrators of the Pahalgam attack, saying those behind the terror attack must pay the price.
28 people have been killed in cold blood. Okay? It is pretty clear who is responsible for this. The people who are responsible for this must pay a price. The Prime Minister has to take action, right? And the action has to be clear and it has to be strong, without any confusion. The Prime Minister must not dilly-dally, must not waste time, must make it very clear that India is not going to tolerate this type of nonsense. So he needs to act.
Furthermore, Pakistan continued to provoke India for the 7th night in a row, with Pakistan Army posts initiating small arms fire across the line of control opposite Kupwara, Uri and Akhnur in Jammu and Kashmir. Indian Army said the firings were responded to proportionately. Meanwhile, according to sources, the investigation into the Pahalgam attack has revealed that the terrorists had done a recce of all the tourist places in Pahalgam, including the Betab Valley and Adu Valley, before targeting the tourists at the Baisaran Meadow. The terrorists had earlier planned to target Betab Valley, but at the last moment they changed the plan and chose Baisaran, as they could escape from the spot easily. The Pakistani terrorists were supported by 2 local terrorists and 5 overground workers. On the 20th of April, Pakistani terrorists moved towards Baisaran after a 2-day trek. They reached the forest near Baisaran and carried out the attack on the 22nd of April.
More details coming in. These breaking developments, tensions between India and Pakistan escalating, and in the latest, India is considering blocking postal services with Pakistan. That's the latest coming in right this minute. And that's not all. Authorities are also contemplating blocking Pakistani websites. And this comes hours after India closed its airspace for Pakistani flights. The volley of actions following India's major move of putting the crucial Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance last week. And the digital counter-offensive against Pakistan started earlier this week after India banned 16 Pakistani YouTube channels, acting on the recommendations of India's Ministry of Home Affairs. The banned platforms include major news outlets like Dawn, Sama TV, Geo News, also individual creators such as former Pakistani cricketer Shoaib Akhtar. These channels were believed to be spreading provocative, communally sensitive content along with false and misleading narratives against India, its army, also its security forces. Let's go straight across now to Siddhant Sibal, our Assistant Editor for Foreign Affairs, with us on the broadcast. Siddhant, get us up to speed with the latest at this point.
Well, India is mulling a lot of actions in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack. Already we know that India had taken a lot of diplomatic measures, including suspending the Indus Water Treaty, cutting down the diplomatic strength of the missions, closing the Wagah-Atari border, revoking the visas given to Pakistani nationals, also the SAARC visa as well. But now India is mulling closing down the postal services as well, shipping lanes being also being closed for Pakistani ships. That means that Pakistani ships can't make port of call to Indian shores. We know that in the past as well, postal services have been suspended, especially after India removed the special status for the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir. We saw Pakistan suspending the postal services and India doing a tit-for-tat move as well, but that lasted for just 3 months. Just yesterday, we know that there was an announcement on India closing its airspace for Pakistani airlines, something that we know that Pakistan had done for the Indian airlines. So, number of measures are being looked here in New Delhi, even as we know that there have been number of conversations. In fact, a big piece of news coming in that the Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has spoken to his US counterpart, the US Defence Secretary. And remember that just a few hours ago, the Indian External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Shankar, spoke to Marco Rubio. And earlier we know that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Donald Trump held talks in the aftermath of the Pahalgam terror attack. In fact, just few hours after the terror attack had happened. In fact, US has been very open about its support to India, and this